Hey guys, how are you? So this is the editorial analysis of newspapers for today and as well as for yesterday. Because due to some technical issues, I wasn't able to upload the lessons yesterday. So sorry for that. So I have combined some editorials from yesterday and from the important ones from today. So this will be presented to you by me, Dipanshu Singh. You can read more about me on this slide, and you can also follow me on Academy on this link to get updates on my courses and on my videos. Please rate and review the course and recommend each and every video. We take a lot of effort in making these videos, so do rate us and let us know what you think of the course. So the agenda for today is we'll be covering these two articles from today's paper, and these two are from yesterday's. And apart from that, I've prepared the summary for this article, which I thought was important, and you can go through the slides and make the notes of it because we won't be having time to cover this article. So apart from that, these two articles are also important. This is from the yesterday's paper, and this is from today's paper, editorial on Iran, and the other one is on the disability and the culture of violence. So this can be important for sociology as well. Now, the practice question for today is regarding the recent oil spill in the coast of Tamil Nadu. So, do attempt this question and mention your answers in the on the Unacademy's discuss page. So, the first article talks about America and India relations and the new Donald Trump's administration. So, generally, India-U.S. relations, are seen as a case of American generosity as a big brother towards India with a non-reciprocal approach towards India. So, generally, what the security establishment and the think tanks in US have been thinking of they have this notion that helping India and grow and expand was only to serve the highest geopolitical interest of the US in Asia and globally, namely maintaining a balance of power that is advantageous to the liberal democracies, especially to counter China and the rise of China and other nations in South Asia. So this is the pivot to Asia policy, which will be continued as of now. And generally, if you look at Donald Trump, he has these two sides of him. So first is a transactional one, which deals with that, all relations are maintained on the give and take basis. There is something to be gained or lost from each and every interaction, and there's no longer moral goal to be pursued. The other side of his is the ideological Mr. Trump, which sees the world, one which is in which the Islamic terrorism is threatening the existence of Judeo-Christian civilization. So he believes in forming alliances, and then he believes in fighting wars to secure the survival of the US and Israel of Christianity and Judaism, which is threatened by the Islamist terror. Now, if you look at Donald Trump, he is open to dealing with India with an ideological frame of reference and a practical and a pragmatic approach, both on the transactional terms and the ideological terms simultaneously. But then India needs to be aware of certain grey areas and some concerns which can affect India-US relations are. The biggest one is that as of now, India is not the top priority for the new administration. So India has to go out of its way. The onus will be on India to catch the attention of the new administration. So and Modi and Trump can actually work together in fighting radical Islamic terrorism. Both are affected by that. But then the issue is that Indian governments crack down on the NGOs, foreign NGOs, especially the US-based Christian charities operating in India, can cause a friction between the two administration because a lot of evangelical groups have far more influence in the present regime than the previous one. So this issue is linked with the NGOs crackdown under the FCRA. Now, the other issue is obviously of jobs because Donald Trump wants the jobs to return back to America, and then India also wants to expand job market. So the growth of bilateral cooperation in the recent decades have involved a movement of US jobs to India and of Indian workers to US. So immigration and H-1B visa issue is also the main concern. So now Trump administration regarding H-1B visa, he has been clear that he will try and end the misuse of this visa. This is partly, and in recent years, basically the Indian companies are also due to political resistance to offshoring, have increasingly hired Americans in their local workforce. So generally, this crackdown on H-1B visa may not necessarily affect the companies, but then it will be able to function by hiring Americans in America to support the bulk of the operations that are in India. Apart from that, there will be a continuous engagement on the defense sector because already the Obama administration cleared the sale of 22 Guardian unarmed drones, and then Donald Trump might also approve India's long pending request for the Avenger armed drones, which is based on this policy is based on the presumption of approval post the major defense partner attack that India got from US. So what can Donald Trump expect in return from India's cooperation? So he want India to play openly and partner with, even be frontline in tackling China, according to one view. And then there was a demand for India to sign the COMCASA, that is the Communications Compatibility and Security Agreement, that would actually enhance the joint surveillance of Chinese vessels in the Indian Ocean region and the South China Sea. And in return for Pakistan, pressurizing Pakistan, he can also request for troops on grounds in Afghanistan. Generally, India has not been very keen in for troops engagement in these global wars. There was a request for Iraq, which was turned down after domestic pressure in 2003. Then it is also not clear whether his administration will be proactive on India's bid for NSG, because America, as of now, does not command that kind of power today. There is more rising influence of China than of America. So therefore, the pragmatism and the practicality of Mr. Trump and Modi can prevail over their own ideological streaks and can actually make them good partners. So Make in India approach of Prime Minister Modi can actually go in hand with Donald Trump's Buy American, Hire American, if they decide to work together on pragmatic issues. The next article is regarding the anti-globalization wave and the importance of the current relevance of WTO. So Robert Azevedo, who is the Director General of WTO, will be visiting India on February 8th, and this visit comes at a juncture when the framework of global trade rules is undergoing a shake-up. So the present issue came up post discussion of the TPP, so 10th Ministerial Conference of the organization Nairobi in 2015, which failed to decide on the future of the Doha negotiations, and so therefore the WTO's relevance was questioned because the organization as of now does not have a work program, and this Doha round is basically is to review the extent and trade rules in order to make the WTO more responsive to the needs of the developing countries, because these developing nations have always questioned the relevance of WTO because the provisions of WTO are heavily weighed in favor of the developed nations, and there is also a critical concern to the least developed countries about their inability to increase their presence in the global markets. Now, some of the issues are the silence on food stockholding, which is of major concern for India under the PDS and Food Security Program. So these policies of WTO are generally in favor of developed nations, specifically related to agriculture and IPR and the new market access, that is the NAMA. And apart from that, India has raised concern that food security is prime importance for them, and it is the right of a sovereign state that to decide the matter in which the poor should be provided subsidized foods. And no penalty clause has been, after much negotiation, India will not be impose any penalty under the peace clause. But then India has always said that they want a permanent solution to it. So you can link this issue with the WTO boxes on the agreements for agriculture from the static portion. The other issue has been trade facilitation. So developing nations were not too keen on it initially, but then after despite the initial opposition, they eventually accepted the agreement on trade facilitation at the end of the Bali Ministerial Conference in 2013. The new agenda, which is to be added in the upcoming Ministerial Conference in Buenos Aires in December 2017, will be on the e-commerce. So their inclusion has been supported by the International Chamber of Commerce and the B20, which represents the business group of G20 countries, and they had also tabled a proposal in the favor of a WTO package on e-commerce. So this package speaks of promoting MSME, which has a prime importance for India, and the proposal agrees and argues that an effective e-commerce environment would level the playing field between the large and small businesses through the the use of internet and e-commerce. But there are obviously concerns regarding it because of low internet penetration. Even for least developed and low income countries, it is very less. For low middle income countries, the figure is also below the global average. The other challenge for WTO is raising financial resources because it does not have a financing arm, and the other issue is of investments and the bilateral investment treaties, because India has already scrapped previous BITs and has developed a new model that would be the basis of the future BITs. So it is very clear that the inclusion of e-commerce and investment in WTO would further drive the wedge between the rich and the poor countries, and the growing disenchantment with the existing model of globalization is actually provided a historic opportunity to frame new rules that will give equal opportunities to all countries and their citizens in the global marketplace. So this is very important from the mains point of view, because there was last year there was also a question on WTO, and this year can also be a question on WTO in the prelims as well. So you need to go through those boxes of WTO and what are the concerns of WTO regarding agreements on agriculture and IPR related issues. So the other one is from the previous yesterday's article targeting old scourges. So this is regarding budget's proposal on elimination targets for some major communicable diseases. So these proposals barely hint at the enormous burden carried by millions in India. So these diseases are basically tuberculosis, Kala-Azar, filariasis, leprosy, and measles. So if you look at TB, it has a higher burden of new patient with TB than estimated earlier. And if you look at leprosy, the cases as on record are 102,178 as of September 2016. So what is the current situation with tuberculosis? So there's a promise of well-funded 5-year scheme to meet the TB challenge, which is a welcome step, although there has been a steady progress towards the elimination deadline of 2025. That will also depend on a lot of improved capabilities in the health system to meet the daily drugs requirement and a feeling of ownership at the state level. Because there was a concern recently, if you remember, that WHO raised concern about underreporting of cases in regarding TB. And the WHO has also been pointing to the lack of integration of private practitioners with the NHM on tuberculosis for the guaranteed access to drugs and lack of continuous monitoring for such patients. Now, if you look at leprosy, the current situation, it is in reality a post-elimination struggle resulting from the complacency because the government has not been effective in eliminating this as a public health problem. Apart from that, detecting new cases and preventing them from progressing to a disability, including grade 2 level, is crucial. Although complete removal of 2018 in the budget may prove difficult, and such self-congratulatory moments weaken both the policy focus and the funding in soft pockets in eastern India. But there have been certain positives. The Kala-Azar, though underreported, had mainly confined it to particular states like Bihar and Jharkhand, is a promising candidate for elimination in the current year. And apart from that, since a few thousand cases are also caused by the protozoal parasite with no animal reservoir control of the vector, the sandfly holds the key. So the conclusion, we need more thinking in policy making in diseases and more support. So if you look at the background of a TB, it is caused by the bacteria MT, that is Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and generally affects the lungs, but it can also affect other parts of the body. And if you look at leprosy, it is also known as Hansen's disease, is a long-term infection caused by the bacteria Mycobacterium leprae or Mycobacterium lepromatosis. So this can be important for your prelims. Apart from that, there can be, you can use these points for your mains answer writing. The other one is regarding returning to a dangerous normal. So this is in context of the recent oil spill and the environmental disasters caused by them, and the action and of the concerned authorities and the state administration. So disasters are actually great teachers. So the lesson though are never only about the case in point. So there have been folk songs which have been composed regarding recent disaster. And so if you remember, in the context of this information, 2 ships collided off the Kamarajar Port Limited near the harbour in Annur in Chennai, resulting in a consequent oil spill that is unfolding in the name of containment and remediation, and the hurry to declare the cleanup operation complete raises questions. So generally, initially the response was very low key, and once they realized that the situation is getting bigger, they started working on it. But then the people were more concerned, the local people carrying buckets cleaning the oil spill, and there was no clarity on the quantity and nature of the material that was spilled, and many actually sought to underplay the disaster by referring to the oil spill as a minor incident and its environmental effects as negligible, nil, or temporary. So untrained people carrying bucket wielding students, volunteers, and fishermen actually came out in numbers to with inadequate protective gear to tackle this issue. And generally, petroleum oils are a complex mixture of the chemicals that are toxic, bioaccumulative, and persistent in the environment. So some are like benzene, are also known human carcinogens that can cause cancers. And an oil spill cleanup is a hazardous waste remediation exercise. So the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board and the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change had issued no advisories, and no prosecution has also been launched for violation of environmental laws by various agencies. And if this is how will be cleaned, one wonders what crimes will be committed while cleaning up sites like Bhopal factories, Unilever's mercury contaminated sites in Kodaikanal, and the other polluters. If you look at the background, Union Carbide in 1996 handed over its factory to the MP government, stating that the cleanup was complete. 20 years later, the site remains still contaminated and begging for a real cleanup. So people are still getting affected by it. And the inquest, the first day of the spill, estimated that of a 20-ton spill at this time of the year, and more than 60% would be breached by the end of this 9 day. So what has been removed is the weathered oil and the sludge from the near shore, and not the main the carcinogen oil, which can affect and lead to bioaccumulation. Those standard practices generally used to use high warm pressure water and foams to remove oil, but that has not been done. So the Kamrajar port, is a key agent, is also dumping dredged sand and to salt pans. Apart from that, petrochemical, industries in Manali are discharging tons of oily chemical effluents. So this is the new normal, where, the authorities are regularly misusing their positions and are undermining the authority and the law. So role of media has been important. They are, they are bringing this issue to highlight and to people. So the cleanup will only be address the toxic oily residues, and even that only to the extent that the public pressure persists. So after public pressure is gone, these authorities will go back to the normal. So the government deficit also needs to be fixed. So you can go through this article which I've summarized. So this is it for this video, guys. Till next video, hope you have a good day. Thank you so much.